January 29, 2025, 8:48 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Over the icy Potomac River near Washington, D.C., a nightmare unfolds. A U.S. Army Blackhawk helicopter collides in midair with American Airlines Flight 5342, a Bombardier CRJ-700 regional jet operated by PSA Airlines. The crash, just half a mile short of Reagan National Airport's runway 33, kills all 67 on board, 64 passengers and crew on the jet, 3 Army personnel on the helicopter. It's the deadliest U.S. commercial aviation disaster in 16 years, since Colgan Air Flight 3407 in 2009. Flight 5342 had departed Wichita, Kansas earlier that evening, a routine trip until its final approach to D.C. Among the passengers were 28 members of the U.S. figure skating community, including 11 teenagers returning from a championship camp. Dreams of Olympic glory erased in seconds. The Blackhawk, call sign PAT-25, was no ordinary military flight. It was part of a priority air transport mission, a training exercise for the Army's continuity of government plan, rehearsing the evacuation of senior officials during crises. But tonight, the script would end in tragedy. Reagan National Airport's airspace is infamous for its complexity. Military helicopter operations compound this challenge, with a designated corridor passing within a mere 100 vertical feet of the approach path for runway 33. Normally split between 2 controllers, that night, one overburdened controller handled dual roles, overseeing both arriving and departing planes, as well as helicopter traffic. Seen from above, Flight 5342 was making its approach from the south, descending over the picturesque Potomac River, a tightly monitored, high-traffic airspace flanked by Washington, D.C.'s most iconic landmarks. To the west loomed the Pentagon's angular silhouette. To the north, Arlington National Cemetery's solemn rows of headstones. And beyond, the glowing dome of the U.S. Capitol. Helicopters frequently operate along this stretch of Potomac, which serves as a designated flight corridor. Unseen below, the Blackhawk drifted into the jet's path. The helicopter, now at 325 feet, 125 feet above its allowed ceiling, was invisible to Flight 5342's collision avoidance system, which disables alerts below 1,000 feet. The Traffic Alert and Collision Avoidance System, TCAS, designed to prevent mid-air crashes after decades of tragedies, was inactive during takeoff and landing to avoid distracting pilots during critical phases, relying instead on air traffic controllers to ensure flight paths remained clear. Further complicating the situation, Flight 5342's radio transponder failed approximately 2,400 feet, about 730 meters from the runway, positioned above the center of the river. At 8:43 p.m., Flight 5342 was flying a visual approach to runway 1 when the controller asked if the crew could switch to runway 33, which they accepted.
Blueshoe 5342, Washington Tower 1 star 32017, cut 25, can you check runway 33?
Yeah, we can do 33 for Blue 6342.
At 8:46 p.m., the controller radioed the Blackhawk, advising them of Flight 5342's position. 1,200 feet, 370 meters, south of the Woodrow Wilson Memorial Bridge, on approach to runway 33.
Pat 25, traffic just off the Wilson Bridge with CRJ at 1,200 feet, start runway 33. This is crew.
The helicopter crew acknowledged the jet and requested visual separation, meaning they would maintain distance based on sight, which the controller approved. Here's a key distinction. The Blackhawk operated under Visual Flight Rules, VFR, relying on sight to avoid other aircraft. VFR allows pilots to maneuver freely as long as visibility is clear. In contrast, Instrument Flight Rules, IFR, enable pilots to fly using instruments, remaining under ATC control from takeoff to landing. Flight 5342 operated under IFR, giving it priority in controlled airspace, while the VFR Blackhawk maintained its own separation. As Flight 5342 neared its destination, it entered short final, the last stretch before landing. At approximately 400 feet, the pilots were intensely focused on executing a perfect touchdown, a phase that demands absolute precision and control. At 8:47 p.m., less than 30 seconds before impact, air traffic radar issued a conflict alert, urgently asked the Blackhawk crew to reconfirm if they still had Flight 5342 in sight. They insisted they did. In mere seconds, disaster struck. The two aircraft collided at just under 300 feet, 91 meters, which caused the helicopter to explode before crashing into the icy Potomac River. It was later found upside down in the water, while the jet had shattered into pieces on impact. The primary obstacle in the rescue operation was accessibility. With a depth of approximately 8 feet, 2.5 meters, the water made maneuvering difficult. Fireboats and divers searched for victims, but freezing water, 35 degrees Fahrenheit or 2 degrees Celsius, floating ice, and fierce winds hampered efforts. An audio recording from air traffic control, now publicly available online, reveals the critical moments leading up to the two aircraft coming dangerously close to each other.
S25, this is CRJ in flight. S25, pass on this CRJ.
S25 has an aircraft in flight, separation.
This recording captures an exchange between the air traffic controller and helicopter in the final seconds before the collision. The controller identifies the aircraft using their initials, PAT-25 for Blackhawk and CRJ for the jet model. Meanwhile, a distant video from a Kennedy Center camera facing southeast appears to show a helicopter and a commercial plane colliding, creating a bright flash. A closer look reveals the Blackhawk racing toward the plane at an alarming speed, just before the crash. With this evidence in mind, two critical questions emerge. First, could another aircraft have confused the pilots? Second, did night vision goggles reduce visibility? Let's tackle the first one. Public data suggests multiple aircraft were in the area during crucial moments of air traffic control communication. At the time, the Blackhawk was supposed to be identifying Flight 5342, south of the Wilson Bridge. Another flight was right behind the ill-fated jet. Two additional flights were nearby. AA-5307 was landing, and JZA-789 was departing. Some experts suggest the Blackhawk might have misidentified one of these aircraft. However, even if the crew had momentarily confused their target, the helicopter was still equipped with an advanced system designed to prevent such an error. The FVDNS, Full View Digital Navigation System, a 360-degree radar capable of detecting obstacles within a half-mile bubble around the aircraft. Displayed on integrated cockpit screen, it provided real-time data on surrounding objects, including size, speed, direction, and proximity. Under clear conditions, the system's range extended up to a mile. Despite this technology, the helicopter still failed to avoid Flight 5342. Given the available data, the most plausible explanation for the crash points to pilot error. Either the system was manually disabled, possibly due to eye fatigue, or the pilot ignored the warnings and relied solely on visual navigation. Now, onto the second question. Did night vision goggles reduce visibility? Night vision goggles enhance visibility in low light, but come with a major drawback. They significantly restrict the user's field of view. While the human eye naturally sees about 180 degrees, night vision goggles narrow this to just a 40-degree arc, less than a quarter of normal vision. This limited scope could have played a role. Two crucial factors, misidentification and limited vision, triggered a fatal chain reaction. Could it have been avoided? Perhaps. But in aviation, hesitation is deadly.